right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the Gaming Lounge podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
I'm doing great. And for people in the comments or people watching, we are aware that Final Fantasy came out with DLC, but we will talk about that next week because this week is loaded.
Exactly. So, the first game we're going to talk about today is Halibut. Dory beat it on Steam, not knowing that it was on Game Pass. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely deserved. No, I looked on the Game Pass app. Hey, Toby. Yeah, I looked at the Game Pass app on my phone, and it said console and cloud. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's not available on PC. Not without checking my actual PC. So, $30, but the good news is totally worth it. I have beaten Halibut, and Seb has not because I have no life currently, and Seb does. So it's not a big flex. Yeah, it's first off, it's an excellent game. It's definitely going to be my top 10. It might be in my top 5. I don't know. It depends on how the year goes. It's certainly not a game for everyone. I want to preface that before I start talking about it. It's very, very story heavy. It's very dialogue heavy, very character focused. It's not, action packed. It's not going to have big climactic scenes or anything like that. This is a game that took over 10 years to come out. It's based on claymation and I think stop animation and stuff like that. Think of like Chicken Run or Wallace and Gromit. We talked about it earlier when I played the demo, and luckily that demo progress carried over. So that helped me get it done a little bit faster too. Not that I was rushing. It took me about all week. It's not actually a short game. You would think because of how long it took and maybe how complicated it was to make. They have some behind the scenes stuff online if you're interested, that this would be a short game, maybe 5-6 hours, but it's actually more like 12 hours. It's a pretty in-depth game. I'll say right off the bat, my only real criticism of the game is I wish you could get around a little bit faster. It does become a little bit of a chore. That's kind of part and parcel of the game, but it becomes a bit of a chore to walk around from tube to tube and go within the Fedora to different locations. But for those who missed it, Harold Halibut is basically about a guy named Harold Halibut, and he is on this ship called the Fedora. And the Fedora has escaped Earth because it was during the Cold War. They thought everybody was going to die from nuclear weapons. And you can look at historical records. Pretty much everybody did think we were going to all die. At least some people did. Not completely implausible, but they were able to, go on this voyage for a couple hundred years. They crash landed in this ocean and they've just stayed there for a long time. I don't remember how long. And that's where the game picks up after a certain amount of time where they've been. I think it's been around almost 100 years or something, because you're an assistant to a professor and she's like fairly old, 60s to 70s maybe. And she says she remembers the crash into the ocean. So it must be under 100 years. But basically, they've spent a lifetime pretty much there. And he is the main focus of the plot. I'm not going to... This isn't giving anything away. This is in the trailer. Is that they basically figure out that Earth is okay. It's not impossible to come back. So the whole game basically becomes, okay, how do they get out of there? What's the best method of doing so, and basically helping everybody to make sure that happens. The first few hours are just you going around the ship, and you find, again, not a spoiler, it's in the trailers, I think it's even in some of the promotional artwork, but you discover an alien life form. They're called Flumulum, and basically they're like fish people. And and Harold develops a kind of relationship with the Flumulum over the course of the game. The game's really sweet. I think it's really wholesome. I love this kind of humor. A lot of the humor in this game is made up of misunderstandings, people cutting each other off, people not listening to each other. Very innocent, kind of humor that I enjoy from time to time. Not that I can't enjoy dark humor. I certainly do enjoy my sense of gallows humor at times. But the game revels in a lot of very wholesome, punny humor, as well as just general misunderstandings between characters. Like I said before, this is very character focused. You are taking on the role of Harold Halibut, and you are going to meet a lot of his different friends, as well as the people he's helping. Harold's kind of an everyman, but he's also kind of a loser. The game's never really explicit about this, but he's just a very unsure of himself guy who always goes with the tide, and the game is about him discovering, whether he wants to go against the tide or not. The controls are pretty good. I would recommend a controller, and so does the game. You want to, if you're turning a tight corner or something like that, you're backtracking and stuff. It's not going to be fun if you're doing with the keyboard. There's a lot of walking back and forth, doing a lot of chores for everybody. I don't mind that personally. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but the environments are so interesting. The characters are so worth talking to. The dialogue is so excellent, and the voice acting is so great that I don't mind. Normally, this kind of thing might bother me or annoy me. And even during this game, at times, I was like, okay, come on, I really got to go back and forth. But for the most part, I was happy to do it because I love interacting with these characters. The attention to detail in the cutscenes with the characters is just incredible. You can see how much love, and it's like when you say, oh, actually, this is a line from the game. That's why I'm thinking about it. But like, you can taste the passion in someone's food, right? This is like, you can see the passion these people had for their game over 10 years of work on it. Seb, did you want to say something? Or are you just listening?
Well, it's very wholesome, as you said. It reminds me of Wallace and Gromit, as you mentioned as well. I like the animation. It's really unique. It's very British, like extremely British, and not just in like the accents, but like the humor. It's very subtle humor. It has that Wallace and Gromit humor, where everything's like subtle, the way that people talk, just like the casual dialogue, and it reminds me of the games I used to play in the '90s on PC, where like you had to go from point A to point B and like solve a mystery and find clues or whatever, and find an item, do a task, and you had to like constantly go in an elevator, go out the elevator, go in the elevator, go out the elevator. And this game is exactly that. And there's no fast travel from where I'm at. I've just finished chapter 1, and it's a little tedious, but you can run. Fortunately, I didn't realize that until like 25 minutes into the game that you can actually hold down the button to run.
Yeah,
but that made it made that bad. It wasn't that bad, but it was definitely a little tedious. But it is what it is. I only criticism I had so far is that I had some performance issues in terms of like, if I was holding down an item, like if I was doing like the microscope, I would try to walk away from it and he wouldn't let go. And for whatever reason, his body stretched like 20 yards away from the microscope.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm playing on PC and I don't know what it was. The frame rate messed it up or something, but he just couldn't let go and I had to restart. But other than that, I haven't had any issues. It was just like little technical things here and there, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I had a couple technical issues too. I won't say that it was so much or so big that it took away from the game, but it was noticeable. He clips through his bed sometimes when he's going to sleep. A couple of times the journal, which you have throughout the game, and he has little drawings in it and stuff that basically tells you like who you're going to go talk to and where you're going to go. There's little signs and stuff like that. Like it's not super like explicit where you're supposed to go sometimes, but for the most part, as long as you remember where a certain person is in their everyday life, you'll generally go. You'll also get extra conversations. Like one of my favorites is Mr. Tinnabaum or Chris. He's the Fabio-looking guy who is really into that soap opera on TV, and you can talk to him about all the exploits and hijinks that goes on in that soap opera throughout the game, and it's a lot of fun. Another one of my favorite characters is the mailman. You have this really cool side quest with him later in the game. I won't get too far into it, but it involves reading mail, and it's actually really well done. Again, the attention to detail, everything's so tactful. What am I trying to say? Tactile. Everything's so tactile because it's made out of practical effects and it's made out of claymation or whatever they used. Everything feels so it's difficult to describe, but so practical, so like you could reach out and touch it, I guess. And that's just such a cool look. This game has such a unique look compared to anything out in the market. I love that they went for it. There's nothing out that I can think of that's remotely like this. I haven't watched Wallace and Gromit in a very long time, or Chicken Run, or the Netflix sequel. But this definitely brought back really good memories of watching that when I was younger. I watched Chicken Run, I think, when it came out in theaters on like a field trip or something like that, with like an after school program or something. But yeah, this is a really great game. It's not going to wow everyone. It's not going to be for everyone. If you want an action-packed game, I mean, there are some scenes that have some action, but that's mostly towards the end. The characters are really colorful, and yeah, I mean, I think generally what you're getting into it just from the trailer alone and just from the screenshots and the description. If you like that kind of narrative-heavy game that's very focused on characters, for example, you can go on a lot of side quests. I did. It took me about 12 hours. I think if I hadn't done any side quests, it would have taken me more like 10. But there is a run button, thankfully, so that definitely sped things up. And I knew about it from the demo. I don't know if the demo tells you. I think I just figured it out by pushing buttons, but I don't remember. There's a really cool relationship Harold has with this other person that's on the ship, and it seems to be some kind of past relationship between him and her, but it's never like really spelled out. It's just kind of all implied, and I just think it's really cute. There's no animosity between them, and there's not any kind of like she has another partner, and like there's not like will she, won't she, or any kind of like animosity. But although once you figure out who her partner is, it does make sense why someone's a bit of a jerk to you towards the beginning of the game. But yeah, I just think this is a really great game, and it really kind of surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I was a bit sad when it was done because I loved the world and loved exploring it with the characters, but it definitely didn't feel too long. It didn't feel too short either. I feel like I really explored pretty much what every character had to offer. I'm sure I missed some interactions. The dev said there's about 8 hours of dialogue and 4 hours of gameplay. But that's only if you do every side quest and don't skip any cutscenes or whatever. So yeah, like I said, probably about a 10-hour experience. This is definitely gonna be on my top 10, maybe my top 5, depending on how the year goes. So I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to anybody. It's on Game Pass. Don't be a fool like me. Don't trust the Game Pass app on your phone that says console and cloud or whatever. I don't know why it said that. The app is useless, honestly. It always says requires Game Pass Ultimate and console and cloud. It gives you all these indicators that make you think you can't play it on PC, but I should have known better to double check because I've had that happen to me before, where I double check on PC and then I notice. But yeah, it's not a big deal. It's only $30 for a 12-hour game. I think is great, especially given it's all based on craft supplies. I mean, how much hard work they put in it. I know that doesn't inherently mean it's worth a certain amount, but when the game's so good anyway, I definitely think that helps. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else to say. It's not like the gameplay is super complicated. It's just walking from one place to another and interacting with these really cool characters in this really well-designed, handcrafted world. So if you like narrative games, give it a try. I think Seb will definitely enjoy it. I don't know if it'll be in your top 10, but I think you'll definitely enjoy it. I loved it, so it's probably one of my favorite indie games of the year so far.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's not for everybody. You have to like narrative games. You have to like those point and click kind of games. It's not really a point and click, but it's essentially that.
Yeah. It's important to say that there's not a lot of puzzles here. There's not a lot of interactivity. If you're expecting to interact with it like it's Monkey Island or like one of those classic PC games made by Lucas Games or whatever, it's not. It's really straightforward. You just walk from A to B. Every now and then you'll have to do like a little practical, like put the plug in here or fix the 3D printer or use the screwdriver, which I find all those very satisfying. Not like fun, but they're satisfying and they're not intrusive or difficult. So this isn't a puzzle game. You don't have a big inventory. You don't have an inventory at all, actually. All you have is a journal and Harold Halibut. I also think it's very funny. A couple things actually I want to mention. One, there's there's a mention of anarchism in this game, which I think is really cool. And Harold's actual age is very funny. I think that was the biggest twist for me is how old Harold actually is, because he looks very old. Not very old, but he looks like he's in his 40s. But spoilers, he is not in his 40s.
Is it a spoiler if you say his age or?
Oh no! I just thought it was really funny. No, he's actually in his 20s, and everybody was like, everybody in the scene was like, "Wait, I thought you were a lot older." And he's like, "Wait, why does everybody think like?" And like the kids were like saying he's like 60. I'm like screaming while Kim's on the couch, like it was the biggest revelation of my life. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Harold's only in his 20s." She's like, "Oh, I thought something actually important happened."
He looks
But
way
yeah, it
older
was
than
very.
me, and I'm 30, so
I know, dude
crazy.
looks haggard. I don't know, but yeah, he's in his 20s, which is very funny.
I,
It's not really a spoiler, but it is a very funny scene. Yeah, it's a really fun game, and there's a lot of commentary on time and corporations. The All Water Corporation is not necessarily your friend, but I think that's pretty apparent from the beginning. It's very, like you said, very British humor, very Monty Python or Brazil, where the bureaucracy is just incredibly inefficient. And that stays throughout the whole game. Very critical of the All Water Corporation, even to the end when I'm not going to give anything away, but I will say that the All Water Corporation has some explaining to do,
yeah,
and they explain themselves very poorly, and in such a way that the game is telling you, yeah, maybe they're changing certain things about themselves, but they're not actually changing.
yeah.
I think that's very vague, so I don't think I've spoiled anything there. And then there's a lot of stuff about time too. Appreciating the time you have, the people you meet. I think that's really important too. And yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to say, Seb? I feel like I've talked about this game enough, probably.
I like the look of the ship. I think it
Yes.
in the way the characters are dressed, it reminds me of like the late 90s, early 2000s, like Euro vision of the future. Like you know how like that era of like techno or like
Yes.
or trance, where everybody had like something about European was like I don't know, like that mystery science 3000 kind of vibe. You know what I'm talking about? Like it just has that kind of like like retro future. Like way they say certain characters are dressed, like the one announcer, like he has like antennas in his head. And
Yes. Zoya.
he just sits in a chair, like and the like radio station looked like something out of like the late 90s. It just has that like early 2000s British sitcom from the future kind of vibe. That's what
Hmm.
I'm getting out of it. It's like the humor is just very subtle. It has like a BBC kind of like something I would watch like when I was younger or something. So I recommend it. You have to like narrative games, and but if you do like narrative games, it's definitely one of the best ones to play for this year. And yeah, I recommend it as well. It is $30, I believe, so
Yes.
that might be a little expensive for some people in narrative games. So if you just want to wait,
Yeah.
I'd wait. But other than that, yeah, it's
It's
a good
also
game.
on Game Pass. Don't be
Don't
a
be
fool like
Dory.
me.
Yeah,
Yes, don't be like me and be more careful. I will now never trust that Game Pass app again. Um, and I will always double check on Game Pass PC to make sure. But yes, it is available on Game Pass PC. So don't buy it on Steam if you want to save some money. But if you don't mind, I mean, I don't feel bad about it. This game's excellent. It's clear the creators really cared about it. It's my kind of game. So like I'm not like too beat up about it. If the game sucks, yeah, I'd be really pissed. But it doesn't. It's an excellent game. It's one of my favorite indies of the year, like I said. So no real regrets on my end. But I wish I hadn't spent the 30 just on general principle, just because I'm trying to be careful about money. But that's always me. I'm just a frugal person. So yeah, that hurt in retrospect.
yeah. So it's on
um, yeah,
PS5, PC, and Xbox. So
yeah,
definitely check it out. All
go pick it
right.
up.
So for me, my spotlight's gonna be Sekiro. Now I'm not gonna go into much detail, obviously, because Dory's never doesn't play Souls games, and you guys already know everything about Sekiro at this point. It is one game of the year in 2019.
No
So
big deal.
it was my first playthrough I ever played Sekiro. I just never could get into it until now, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fantastic game. I still think Resident Evil 2 remake is my game of the year from that year, just because I'm a huge survival horror fan, a huge Resident Evil fan, and that game just blew me away so much. But I can easily see this game being like easily being the game of the year. It plays so incredible. The gameplay is one of the best ever. the movement is incredible. It's one of the best ever as well. The exploration in this game is fantastic. It's very, very hard. It is definitely the hardest Souls game I ever played by far. Because the dynamic is so different than like a Souls game or other Souls games where it's like you can dodge or you can block, and you can play a certain play style, or you can play melee, or you can play like range. But this game is purely melee, up close parrying. You have to parry in this game to have any chance. If you don't get if you don't get good at parrying, you can't progress in this game. You have to become like a master at parrying. And I feel like I've become a better gamer after playing it, as I said on Twitter. Like I think I'm already a pretty good gamer generally, but I think I'm a little better now with the parrying. I even with Bloodborne, I never really parried. I always dodged, and that got me through the whole game twice. Platinum both times, and I think if I played Bloodborne again, I'd be a lot better because I'm so good at parrying now after Sekiro. And I want to say the boss battles in this game are absolutely incredible. Like this is some like hard edge boss battles I ever played. Like this is like it keeps you on your toes. You're sweating. Your heart's beating really fast. It's one of those like adrenaline rushes that you don't get in many games. It's like, oh my god, I have like little health left. This boss is almost dead. I can't make any mistakes, and that's not something you can replicate in any other game. That's what makes this game so incredible as well. Is that it was a little frustrating to play this game on my ultra wide screen because I couldn't get a full screen. It was only the bars, and I had 2 black bars on the side, but not a big deal. But definitely could have affected the look of it a little bit for me, and visuals look a little worse than like a more modern Souls game. Like I'm playing Lords of the Fallen right now, and I've been replaying Elden Ring, and those visuals will look a bit better just because they're newer games, but it still looks like a great game. I had to turn off like certain settings to make it look better though. Like the HDR for some reason made it look muddy. But once I did, it was great, and I had a fantastic time with it, and definitely one of the best games ever. And I don't know, I can't say it's the best Souls game ever for me because I love Elden Ring so much, but it's definitely up there. Definitely the hardest though, for sure. Like I've never played a game this hard in a long time. On top of my head, this might be one of the hardest games I ever played and beat. So awesome accomplishment for me personally. I know a lot of people beat this game, but I'm sure a lot of people haven't beaten it either. So yeah, I'm glad that I accomplished this milestone for me because I always felt like this is one of those games I always wanted to play and beat. Everybody keeps talking about. Now I can finally put myself on the same list as those people. So yeah, it was a little personal accomplishment for me, and I really loved it. Great game. Probably my second favorite game of that year now. So yeah.
What was your first favorite?
Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my game of the year in 2019.
That's right. The less good remake of a classic Resident Evil game. I remember that one.
All right, so now we're gonna talk about some news now. Like, so there's a lot of rumors or news this week, which is a nice contrast. Was a big contrast from the last couple of weeks where it was like nothing in terms of news. We'll start with the Nintendo Indie Showcase. Now, me personally, I didn't have a lot that interests me really. There's like 2 games, and that's about it. I watched it at work, and it was like 20 minutes, like skipping through certain things, and so I'll let Dory start off this topic because she probably has more to talk about than I do.
Oh, fuck, I just remembered we're going to talk about Hades today. I just got really excited looking through the topic list. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. We will talk about Hades 2 later. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through our messages because I want to remember which games I really liked. Okay, so the first one I wanted to talk about is Anton Blast. This is a really cool looking action platformer. The devil has stolen your soul, and you're kind of like, it felt a little bit like Wario or Pizza Tower, but you're just a big guy running around, blasting things. I actually have the demo on Switch, but I haven't played it yet. I wanted to play it, but I didn't want to like talk about it too much, so I just decided not to play it. But I had plenty of time. I don't know. I should have just done it. But yeah, Anton Blast. The demo's on the Nintendo Store right now. So if that looks interesting to you, if you like Wario or Pizza Tower or those actiony platformer games where you're just a big guy blasting things, that could be for you. Second one I want to talk about is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. First off, Chef's Kiss, amazing title, love it. It's from the same people behind Sayonara Wild Hearts, which I believe Seb and I both played and enjoyed. Yes, great. I know I did. It looks like a puzzler. I'm not sure if I want to play it, but I love the aesthetic. I love the art style a lot. And I also wasn't sure about Sayonara, and then I picked it up and I loved it. I thought it was a great game. Although the art style is definitely the best part. So this could be another case of me liking the game, but not jiving with the gameplay as much as I jive with the music and the aesthetic and the vibes, which are gay, by the way. But anyway, in a good way. But yeah, so that was something. It looked really cool. I don't remember a lot about it because the indie showcase was a few days ago now, but it looked really kind of, I don't know, I want to say far out, but what am I, from the 60s? It looked very retro-y and point and click. I don't know. It's definitely a big puzzle game. What I do with puzzle games now, like I play this game Primoria, which is kind of a retro point and click game that's on Steam. It's really good. It's a great game, but I have no patience for point and click games at my age. And I just use guides. So if I played this game, I would probably wait for a guide and play it. But anyway, Sayonara Wild Hearts devs, that's cool stuff. Last thing I want to talk about is, I want to talk about a couple games that actually look good to Kim. We usually watch these showcases, honestly, for Kim, because there's a lot of casual games that really would appeal to her. So there's Cat Quest 3, which I know Seb might want to say something about, but I just want to briefly mention that Kim is very interested in that. I don't know if it's her kind of game, so Seb, let me know, because I think you said that you played too.
We'll talk about. Might as well talk about that now. Yeah, that's one of my games. I beat both of them, Cat Quest 1 and 2. They're very awesome casual games, very short. And they're really fun in terms of like they're adventure games. They're like dungeon crawlers basically. You're on like a 2D mix between 2D and 3D map, and you play as a cat, or on the second game you can play as a dog as well as your partner. It's a co-op, and you can walk into a dungeon. You walk into a dungeon, and a bunch of monsters come at you, and you just whack them or use your magic. You have the option. It's kind of like a mini RPG with different armor sets and things like that. Different weapons you can use. You can have more of a magic build or more of a action or like knight build or whatever. They're amazing games to play. Actually, this one looks even better. It looks like more modern with the even better animation and background and all that stuff. I mean, the other games look good too. I just beat the first game again this year on my Steam Deck, and it still holds up really well. And this game looks like a better version of those games. So I feel like this game's gonna be really good. It comes out August 8th, so good date for it.
That's awesome. I didn't know there was co-op, so that's great. Or I didn't remember anyway.
The second one has co-op, so if you want to play with Kim, you play the second one. Yeah.
Okay. Did they advertise co-op for the third one or no? They're not bringing that back.
I didn't see co-op. Maybe.
Okay. Maybe they'll announce it later. I mean, it's not till August.
Yeah, I feel like the second game was just like definitely made for co-op because it advertised the dog and the cat. I forget his name, but the cat.
Yeah.
And the cat. Kim should play the first one first because it's like a 4-hour game and it's very casual. I mean, there's some, if you want 100% it has some difficult moments for like a less hardcore person, I guess. Like there's some elements that might be hard for her, but for the most part, it's a very casual game. I'm sure she knows like if there's a red background under the character, like a red highlight under the character to get out of the way or something like that.
Yeah, she's watched me struggle against Kingdom Hearts bosses long enough.
Kingdom Hearts is
know.
much worse, much harder than this game. It's very like you see a red thing under you, just get out of the way, kind of thing.
Sure.
And you just dodge.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I'll let her know then. Oh, she loves anything with cats. Yeah.
Also, this one has included ship combat that the other games did not have. So that was the new mechanic for this one was because this one's like about pirates. Seems like, but the other ones were like dragons and stuff, like more fantasy. This one seems more like Black Flag, Cat Quest, Black Flag. So
nice.
Yeah.
And then the second game that caught her eye. I know this could be very surprising given what I just said about Kim and cats. Little City, Big Kitty. Or Little Kitty, Big City. I had it in my head, and I completely turned it around. But Little Kitty, Big City is, I believe, the title. and I don't have too much to say about it. That didn't really catch my eye at all, but Kim thinks it looks absolutely adorable. And so I have that on our wish list as well. I might pick up both for her birthday or maybe
comes out next month.
Yeah. So maybe I'll buy it for her as a present or something. We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like 20. It's not a big deal. And then last one I wanted to mention. I think this was interesting to you too. Speaking of Hades, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but let's put Hades in there. Kind of. I mean, I know it's just a roguelite, but it looks like, I mean, even the select screen when the power-ups come by, I know Hades is not original in doing it like that, but just bear with me. That's my reference because I don't play a lot of roguelites. You don't either. So I don't know why I'm getting so defensive. You haven't said a single word.
Well, I play more than you think, at least. Like, give me.
Okay.
I know more not to compare everything to Hades. At least.
All right. Well, that's baby's first roguelite, and that's what I know.
Yeah.
I'm
excited.
But anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. TMNT roguelite looks really cool. It looks like Hades to me, so I'm interested. I love TMNT. I loved Mutant Mayhem, and I'm excited for the sequel. So, obviously I grew up with the original one from the 90s/80s, whenever it was originally made, and the live action films. Even the third one, guys. Even the third one. I was a child. I had no frame of reference for what a bad movie was.
Even back then, I knew as a bad movie.
Even I didn't know. I was such a stupid kid.
Actually, the second one's not great either.
They're doing time travel? That's going to be so cool.
I love the second one, but even the second one doesn't really.
Yeah, no, I think the first one. It doesn't, because all the parents crusading against it. Anyway,
let's make them fight with hot dogs and food and.
So dumb.
Yeah. First one.
But anyway, that was a Nintendo Indie Showcase for me. Not a huge showcase, but my expectations were pretty low. Two games that look interesting to me: Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and Anton Blast, and one that I'm actually considering buying, which is the TMNT roguelite. What about you, Seb? Anything else, Dad?
Yeah, you mentioned I only had two, and Cat Quest 3 was one of them, and the second one was Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles game looks great. I'm a little disappointed it's a Switch exclusive. I'm gonna wait for it to come to Steam if it does. But I just am not in the mood to play my Switch anymore. Like right now, I'm kind of, as I said before, I'm kind of ready for the Switch 2 at this point. I just am not really in the mood to touch it outside of like the Princess Peach game that I played. I think it's a really cool game. I think the Ninja Turtles game being a roguelite is cool. The gameplay looked really fun. I can definitely see myself having a blast with this game. I am starting to get a little annoyed with every game being a roguelike now. It's kind of a trend right now. Fair. But at the same time, it looks like a blast, and I love that you get permanent upgrades by doing different runs. So there is a progression system too, which I liked about Hades, is that like even though you keep dying, you come back and you just progress, and your character gets stronger each time, and it makes the gameplay loop really addicting. Because I played Hades and beat it like on the PS5, on the Switch, on Steam. So Hades is one of those games. It's an amazing game. So
I'm really hoping that this is a topic for later, but I'm really hoping they don't pick the play testers based on how many hours you have on Steam. I did not play that on Steam. I played it because I didn't have a controller.
Mine's low on Steam because I played it mostly on PlayStation and Switch.
Yes, I played it on Switch. I have over 100. It says like 50 plus hours or whatever, but that's like 100, 200 hours or something.
Yeah.
I think that whole year, what was that year? 2021, I think. 2021, 20. Yeah.
No way.
Anyway, what
Hades?
Yeah. Anyway, I wouldn't shut the fuck up about it that whole year.
2020.
I just anytime I could in the podcast, I'd be like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" So you hear about this roguelike called Hades?
That was anyway, that was the same year you wouldn't shut up about Hades and Last of Us Part 2 in the same year.
That's true. Prepare in I can't talk about this. We'll talk about this during Hades 2. But anyway, I'm going to be on Insufferable this year.
Not that I can judge, because Hades is my second best game of that year, and Last of Us Part 2 is my favorite game of that year. So
yeah, I think it was my fifth, which is so funny because I wouldn't shut up about it, but it also wasn't even in my top 3 because there were so many good games that came out that year. But anyway, we're clearly done with this. Let's just move on.
Yes, so let's start moving on to some actual like rumors and news going on. So the first one we're talking about is apparently there's a Mafia game being announced soon. Let me pull up the article.
This is actually a good time for this news to happen because, apropos of nothing, I decided I was watching a video on some really good classic like PS2 games and stuff like that, and one of them was like Mafia 2 or Mafia or whatever.
Yeah.
So I added the remake to my or the
Definitely recommend
remaster or
it.
whatever it was.
Definitely recommend
Yeah.
it. The remake was really good. I played it on PlayStation. I am gonna. I did rebuy it a while ago on Steam to play on like my PC. I'm curious how it's gonna look on
Yeah,
PC, but
it's
it looked
Mafia
great either
Definitive
way.
Edition. Oh, sorry, Mafia Definitive Edition is like 75% off right now. So this is
Yeah.
an excellent. So it's very positive reviews too. 87% are positive.
Yes.
So I'll definitely I might check this out. I never played the Mafia games when I was younger. I think I played some of the Grand Theft Auto games and um some of the other open worldy kind of sandboxy games like that. I'm trying to think of the other one that you could jump really high, and it was like mostly on Xbox, and it fizzled after
Oh.
the third one. I think.
Oh, why am
I
I
can't remember
forgetting
what the
it?
hell.
Oh my god, why am I forgetting it?
I can't remember what the hell
I
it
know
was called.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they had the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was a big part of the
Oh my
advertising. God, that was a mistake. Terry Crews, he was in it. The fuck game was it called?
No, I gotta look it up.
Yep, I gotta look it up too.
Crackdown.
Crackdown. Yes, I just found it. Crackdown. Anyway, I played Crackdown and Grand Theft Auto and like all those kind of like open world sandbox, Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
Yeah.
So I bet I would like this.
Yes, this is much more like Grand Theft Auto. It's not. It's very much grounded in reality
Yes.
with actual mafia narrative. Like it's a very story-heavy game with
Yes.
dialogue and fully voice acted cutscenes and real adult swearing, and it's a very much like a mafia movie. Now I've beaten all. Well, I didn't beat the third one. I beat the first two. The third game was a mess, but I'll talk about that after this. So, apparently, going by VGC, the Caraxis, who is a reliable source of leaks, they've leaked several things recently and got it right. They revealed the titles for Marvel 1943 and got it right. They got the Metro Awakening title right, and they got the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle title correct as well before it even got announced. And they accurately predicted the Take-Two studio Ghost Story Games was planning a Judas reveal. So they knew they knew about the reveal for Judas as well. So they've been pretty accurate. And apparently on Twitter they said, "I can tell you that a few days ago Take-Two began preparations for an announcement regarding the Mafia series." So it sounds like he said he doesn't know if it's a remake or if it's a brand new game. I know people would be into a Mafia 3 remake maybe, or a Mafia 2 one, because Mafia 3 had an amazing narrative, an amazing story, and amazing characters and acting and everything. Like it's really engrossing, but the gameplay was so bad. It really ruined like such a great story. Like it's one of the most underrated storylines in the game. It had a very unique perspective. It was focused on a black family in like New Orleans, I think. While the other two games were Italians and in New York or whatever. And yeah, my people. And this game, the Mafia 3 was like it had a whole different setting and perspective, but it was so buggy at launch. The performance was bad. I'm sure it's better now, but it was at the time it was really bad. And it had like these side missions that like forced you to do them. You couldn't progress if you didn't do them. People got frustrated with it. So Mafia 3 is the redheaded stepchild of the series. People don't like the third game. So I'm curious what they're gonna do with this. I'm assuming it's gonna be a fourth game. I don't see them remaking another game. But I mean I think Mafia 2, even though it says remastered, but obviously it was a huge step down from the first game. Not in terms of like, I don't mean like as a negative. I mean more like the first game was like a remake basically. Even though it's called a remaster, it was a full-on remake. Like it looks so much better than the PS2 game. It's not, but the second game felt like, going off the top of my head, it felt like a just a remaster, like a typical remaster. It didn't feel like a full-on remake. But the first game legitimately feels like a remake. So I'm curious if they're gonna do that. But I'm guessing it's gonna be a fourth game, and I'm excited for it. I don't know I'm curious what they're gonna do, what setting. It's gonna be more in a modern setting because these games, if I remember correctly, these games take place in like an older era, older cars and stuff like that. It's not like because they want to separate themselves from Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
So this was more like L.A. noir kind of era. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I actually have that on my PlayStation. I'll play it eventually.
So I'm curious what they would do with it, but I'm pretty confident this is true. It's been a while since we had a Mafia game, so it's time. I know the Mafia Remastered Collection was pretty solid hit. I'm sure. I know people were digging it, so this is exciting. So
yeah, I like I said, I don't have a ton to add just because I didn't grow up playing the Mafia games, but now that I'm older, I definitely have appreciation for those kinds of stories. Of course, Godfather's a classic. But and I also just enjoy like the general like conception of like crime families is so interesting to me, sociologically speaking, and just philosophically speaking. I just have a very like deep interest in it. I've read a couple of like articles and this and that on it. Even when I wrote a comic book once, and I mean, I basically put like a crime family into it because I find that very interesting. So I basically, if it looks good, I'd probably, and the price wasn't unreasonable, I'd probably be there day one. Yeah, I hope it gets announced. That'd be cool. I don't know what exactly they'll tackle, but if you want a taste of the Mafia series, the remastered Mafia, Mafia 1, that is or remade or whatever it is only $10. It's 75% off, which is a really great deal on Steam.
Yeah.
Which does seem to tie in with the timing of this rumor.
Yeah.
It seems very random otherwise. Why are they randomly discounting it by 75%? So, but it's set to expire in I think like a couple days. So, so yeah, I don't know. Very interesting timing for that sale.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm also curious if they're gonna upgrade the gameplay because one thing about Mafia 1, the remake as well, is that the gameplay isn't great. It's very stiff, very much so like mid 2000s kind of Grand Theft Auto gameplay, or auto, the aiming and everything, hide behind a corner. So don't expect like anything groundbreaking. So I'm curious if they're gonna upgrade the gameplay at all. Also, even more evidence of it happening is the fact that 2K's studio Hangar 13, the developers that make these games, the Mafia games, confirmed in August 2022 that a new Mafia game was in development. So, yeah. So it's been 2 years. I'm sure they've been working on it longer than that. So it's been years now. So I'm sure it's ready to go. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Probably in Summer Game Fest, I would imagine. All right. So let's move on to the next topic, which is the Ghost of Tsushima and the PlayStation Overlay. So Ghost of Tsushima is coming out on PC, I believe, next month on May. I'm pretty excited to replay it because I've been recently watching the Shogun show on
Shogun,
on
Hulu, right?
On Hulu, which is on FX, and it's fantastic. It's amazing, and it reminds me of like early season Game of Thrones, where like it's not action heavy, but the dialogue is like a banger. Like you're just engrossed in everybody's performance and
I keep seeing that screenshot of one of the maybe it's the Shogun himself. I don't fucking know. I haven't seen the show, but is saying you were infected with Christianity or something like that. Which is very funny out of context, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, and so everything they say is like has so much like power to it. It's amazing. The dialogue. That's how Game of Thrones used to be before they made it casual and be like, oh look, dragons, explosions, action every 5 minutes kind of thing. But this show's like an adult show, like where the dialogue carries it. Anyway, the point of this topic is that we're getting a PlayStation Overlay on PC, and we're actually getting a friend list, trophies. You can link your PlayStation account to PC, which is really pretty big news in the sense that this is just more evidence that PlayStation might be switching more to PC again. Like in terms of like they're gonna add more and more games to PC. Now I don't think the games are gonna be day and date, but I do think the multiplayer games are, like Helldivers 2 being a huge hit, sold more on PlayStation than excuse me, it sold more on PC than it did in PlayStation. And so, but the single player games I think are still going to be another year or two out. So this is big news. PlayStation slowly becoming more like Xbox, where they're putting all their games on PC because they know the money's there, the audience is there. It just won't be day and date. So yeah, you can link your trophies. You basically what I'm saying is you can earn trophies on PC. You can link your PlayStation account to your Steam account and earn trophies on PC if you wanted to wait. Although I'm not sure how important that is to people, because I would feel like you would probably if you were into trophies, you would probably be playing on PlayStation and not waiting 2 years to play a PC game. But in general, though, it's still cool to have your friend list and everything be connected. Because I think it's a cool thing about Xbox as well. Is like when I play, cause I've been playing like Gears 5 and Master Chief Collection, and it links with your Xbox account. Now, just keep in mind that if it's, I'm assuming that like when you link your account, all your achievements are gonna pop. So all the Steam achievements are gonna pop if you're into that. So if some people like to earn it from scratch. So just keep in mind, if you link your PlayStation account to the game, it's probably gonna auto pop all your trophies that you earn on PlayStation, which I have, because it shares a trophy list with the PS5 version, and I have the platinum on the PS5 and the PS4 version. So it would probably auto pop everything for me, but I'm still gonna replay it because I'm dying to see how this game looks on my PC, because I have a 4080. So it looked gorgeous on PS5. So I can't even imagine what it's gonna look like on a computer that's like a lot stronger than the PS5. So an ultra wide monitor. I think I'm gonna buy this game just for the visuals alone, because this game's gonna look incredible. The gameplay is
I miss Ghost of Tsushima. It feels like forever since that game came out. What was that? 2019, 2020?
2020, same year as Hades and Last of Us.
Wow, damn, what a fucking year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy 7 remake.
What? Yeah. That one too, man.
And Miles Morales.
All right.
And Demon's Souls. Yeah. That was a big year for PlayStation. They had so many huge games there. Holy crap.
I know, and right before the flipping pandemic too, or some of those during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was during it.
Yeah, I really, I know this is slightly off topic, but since we're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, I really want to see what Sucker Punch has got for that sequel. I mean, I'm there day one. So Ghost of Tsushima was excellent. A lot of the updates were really good too. I didn't check all of them out, but I even love the multiplayer.
Did you do DLC?
Shit, did I check out the DLC? I don't remember.
I liked it.
I know I did the multiplayer. I know I did it with Rob and Ryan and a few other people. That was so fun. I hadn't had that much fun in a multiplayer game in a long time. I'm just so excited for them to show more from Ghost of Tsushima too. But yeah, this is cool for a lot of people who are really into trophies. It just shows more and more that Sony, like you said, Sony is investing where the money is, which is PC. I still use my PlayStation, especially if I'm like going to play like a big AAA budget game. Like I'd never try to play like the next. I know this is like a silly example, but like for example, if God of War came out same day on PC and PS5, that's not going to happen. But if it ever did, I would always go PS5 first, because I'm more confident that my PS5 would handle that, would be more stable. I'd have a better playing experience. Playing that on an Xbox controller would feel wrong, and I believe I would be convicted for war crimes.
We don't have to anymore. I mean, DualSense works with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I could do that, so maybe I'll be off scot-free.
I'm the opposite now. I said this on Twitter. If every game came to PC day one, I'm not buying a console anymore, outside of Switch. Because I don't like pirating and play emulation Switch games. I like to have it on the go kind of thing. But if every PlayStation game came day one on PC, I think I would stop buying consoles. But that's not going to happen, of course, and it's going to be like a year or two, I'd imagine. So I can't wait. I'm going to be one of those people that double dips. Like I'd buy it on PlayStation and then buy it on PC again. I've been doing that, all the PlayStation games, because
I've been doing double dipping for a long time at parties. I gotta say, it's not a good idea. Lots of people look very madly at you.
No, but I mean, when I say double dip, I don't mean I buy them day one for like $70 though. Of course, I wait for a sale on PC. Like I got Horizon for like $15 and God of War for like $15, so it's not like I spent like full price or anything. Those games are definitely worth $15 playthrough on a PC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm definitely excited for this. I'm not sure I'm gonna buy it day one, but this might be the first game I do buy day one if cause I'm just in the mood to play it. Because May doesn't seem to have a lot that I'm into either. Off the top of my head, I'm just thinking Hellblade. So yeah, it might be a good time to jump into Ghost of Tsushima. All right, moving on. So this one's gonna be quick, of course. It's just an update about Blizzard and Microsoft's relationship. So as everybody knows, like on the planet at this point, if you follow gaming, Microsoft owns Blizzard. They've paid almost $69 billion for it, for Activision Blizzard. And Holly Longdale, which is an MMO executive producer and VP, she says being part of the Xbox giant has been very helpful, and that they haven't really changed anything. They've been all they've gotten is support, and it seems like they're largely independent from Microsoft. Like Microsoft's giving them their space. I think that was the same way with Bethesda. So to me, it's good news. And I guess you can look at it in a bad way in terms of like, is this like we're gonna let Activision be greedy and do whatever they want, like still, or I don't think that's what they mean. I think it's more like Microsoft's not just saying you're gonna do it this way, and you're gonna do whatever we say, and you're just gonna follow the big corporate giant and have no independence of your own. No, I think this is good news because I think Microsoft's not gonna be as greedy as Activision used to be. At the same time, and I think they're going to let them have their space and do whatever they find. Because I know, like World of Warcraft, for example, because she's an MMO executive, so this is largely we're talking World of Warcraft here. World of Warcraft has like a 20-year plan, which is crazy, right? Because that game's been around since 2004. Like that,
that game's been out for 20 years. Jesus.
I've been playing that when I was in 6th grade, and basically the same age as my students, which is crazy to think about. People are actually excited for the future of WoW because WoW has been largely been affected by greed and store mounts and all that Bobby Kotick bullshit and this time gating things like where you have to like have it's basically like a full-time job. Like you can only do a certain amount of content and then you have to wait a day to do it again or something like that. It was a lot of people were just not happy. And it seems like with all the changes they're making in the future expansions and stuff are exciting, and they're getting back to what makes WoW so popular for people. So I'm actually happy with these news. I'm not expecting this, but I really want Blizzard to come back to how they used to be. Like I miss old Blizzard. Back in the day, old Blizzard was the best developer in the world, in my opinion. They were my favorite, and since the Activision deal with them, they just got so corporate and terrible.
They've gotten so bad. Yeah, this is a double-edged sword to me. I think this quote just sounds bad out of context if you don't know anything about the person who's saying it and what she is specifically in control of.
Yeah.
She's just doing creative stuff for MMOs, like you said. It does sound bad because they're basically saying, oh yeah, Microsoft's leaving us alone. And they're just letting us continue our greedy, exploitative ways that we've been doing for the past, 10 years now.
Right.
At least 10 years. Yeah, it sounds bad, but hopefully it's not as bad. I mean, obviously Bobby Kotick isn't there anymore. But of course, it's never just one person. It's always a culture. Or at least that's usually the way it goes. So I'm sure Bobby Kotick not being there helps. But I mean, that was just the most visible, rotting branch on the tree here. Certainly not the only problem at Activision Blizzard. So I'm hoping that, yes, they are creatively leaving them alone, but perhaps workplace ethics not leaving them alone. And, that doesn't just go for the allegations and stuff, but also goes for, again, just like you said, how greedy they've been with the microtransactions and turning their games into gotcha machines, basically. Look, I don't have a lot invested in Blizzard. I never did. When I found out they were scummy, that was an easy divestment for me financially. I never got into World of Warcraft. Closest I ever did was watch that South Park episode and laugh. And I never really got into any of the games Blizzard did. Diablo never moved me. And Overwatch never moved me either. So I just don't care about their products, and so that makes it super easy. At least with Ubisoft, despite a lot of their workplace issues, I have a fondness for the Assassin's Creed series. I love Black Flag, and there are some other games they've probably published that I've enjoyed. But with Blizzard, I just have nothing invested in them personally or historically. So it's easy just for me to wash my hands of them and just not really buy their products generally. I mean, if they do something really cool and their leadership has gotten better, obviously, because Bobby Kotick isn't there, then that's great. And obviously, I want that to happen for fans of all those properties I mentioned.
It seems like there's been some positive signs that they're changing direction. I don't know about the culture because we just don't know until we get news about that.
Yeah, we just don't know.
But in terms of games, it seems like they've done a good job with turning around World of Warcraft, as I mentioned, and I think people are starting to get more positive about Diablo again, Diablo 4. I know when the first season started, people were pissed and there was a big rant. It seems like people are generally happy now with it. I still have fun with it. It's a great Steam Deck game where you just want to play a game for half an hour and just want to kill some shit and level up a little bit and get some armor and then put it down. So it's a good game just to jump in and out of. I can leave it on my Steam Deck even though it takes up a lot of space. But that's why I bought the 1 terabyte model because it's worth it. All right, so hopefully this is good news for Blizzard. All right, so the next topic is Hades 2. We got some gameplay, a whole live stream. It's it was a long one. Almost 3 hours. It was 3 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, it sure was.
So Dory
definitely didn't watch the whole 3 hours.
Well, I didn't. So you take it away.
Yes, Hades 2 is having a technical test. So Supergiant was basically like, hey, we know not everyone's going to be able to get into the technical test. You're not all going to be able to play it. I already applied, but I don't think it'll happen. They're only taking a subset of people who have applied. I don't know what the criteria is. Is it random? I know some people have gotten keys just based on, them being a big deal and stuff like that and having a big audience. Makes total sense. But basically what it is it's the first area of the game. Now, I am not going to hold back on details. If you don't want to know anything about the game, if you want to go in completely blind, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. Skip the topic. Go to our last topic. But I'm going to be talking about everything they showed in the technical test. So, I mean, unless Seb has some reservations about that. But there's nothing big. I'm not spoiling any end game stuff. It's just the first area, and it's a lot of the beginning characters. So first off, Hades 2 does not require you to have any, just like the first one, no knowledge of Greek mythology, no knowledge of the first game. You do not have to know who Zagreus was or is. You do not need to know who Hades is or Hades' wife. I can't remember her name, but anyway, Persephone. Thank you. So this is just covering the first area of Erebus. Erebus is right next to the Grand Witch, is the headmistress Hecate, who is a famous character within Greek mythology. But again, you don't need to know that. She is. I'm always going to mispronounce the main character's name, even though I think it's beautiful and I love it. One of my friends is obsessed with her, so I share Hades 2 news with her. Melanie. I listened to it multiple times.
Yeah, you're.
But anyway, Mel, as we're calling her. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to call her that.
Is it Melanie? Is it supposed to be Melanie or is it supposed to be Manoli?
It's kind of like Melanie. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, she is a witch. So she plays a lot differently than Zagreus. Zagreus, what?
And she's an assassin.
Yes, and she's an assassin, which is great. So she's got this whole creed, and no, I'm kidding. So she plays a lot differently than Zagreus, right? Zagreus was very up close and personal. He had the sword, he had the fists. You could play from far away with the bow and the shield to some extent. But Melanie is, I'm still going to get roasted in the comments because I love Hades so much and I'm just butchering her name. But she has a staff and she's a lot more farther away. She has a lot more range to her and a lot of holding down buttons to do certain attacks. So that's a big kind of a big deal. It changes the gameplay a lot. Let me see if I can get a good. Let's see. How do we do this? Melanoy. Thank you, pronouncenames.com.
You can say just Shay at this point. We established her name, so.
Yes, I know. Sorry, I'm just obsessed with it. But Melanoy is a terrific character right from the start. She is going after the god of time, Kronos. Kronos, you might remember, I believe, is also in God of War, the original trilogy, or at
Yes.
least mentioned.
Different Kronos
Yes.
than the God.
Different Kronos.
Than the
But
King of
yes,
Titans. Yeah.
yes, and so basically the Titans have attacked. You could even say that Melanoy is going to be attacking on the Titans. Seb. Hey.
Should be here all night, everybody.
Oh, I will absolutely. Yep, I've got all the stupid anime references you could ever want. Gameplay is much like the first one, right? You've got a certain amount of life, a certain amount of well, actually, in this one, you've got a certain amount of magic. So because Melanoy is a witch, she has things called an Omega cast. Basically, you can hold down the action or the attack button or whatever, and you can do devastating attacks. You can get in close if you want. There are some blades that you can get as well. The attack on the Olympus, attack on Olympus or attack on Hades' place. I really want to say attack on Titan again. It's like taking me everything to not say that. It has resulted in basically Zagreus, Hades, and Persephone being captured. It's unclear, but basically they're in trouble. You need to go help them. Melanoy is finally of age, has been training her whole life to get them back or to take vengeance. It seems like take vengeance. Your the headmistress Hecate has basically been your teacher. You meet some other people like Odysseus and Nemesis, who is one of Nyx's children. Nyx was from the first game. The great brave general Skella. Oh, man, I can't remember his name, but anyway, it's basically Skelly.
Skelemius, I think.
Skelemaeus.
Yeah. Like
yes. Skelemaeus is his real name. Definitely not Skelly. He's definitely not from the first game, and just armored up a little bit. But anyway, Skelemaeus, your dutiful teacher in martial combat. And of course, a lot of the gods are back, right? So, again, if you don't want to know anything about the game, then stop listening to me. Go to the next topic. But Artemis makes a return. Incredible. I love Artemis. She's the best girl.
Apollo,
as well as
Aphrodite.
Apollo, yes, Aphrodite. Aphrodite is who I was thinking of. Aphrodite, who everyone thirsts over.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of new people too. There's the god of the forge, Hephaestus. And there is also Demeter's there, and there's also the god of fire. I can't remember. Is that Hephaestus? That might be Hephaestus. But anyway, there's a lot, and Zeus, of course, is
Demeter,
there. Yeah. And so it's a lot of the classic combat, and the art style hasn't changed that much, although I don't know who would be complaining about that. Mm-hmm. It's the same excellent voice acting. They brought in the narrator from Baldur's Gate 3 to do Hecate's voice. She's got a little bit of like reverb and like audio distortion, but you can tell it's her. She's incredible. Yeah. I mean, the action is, I don't know, really. I have a lot of enthusiasm, but I'm not really sure where to put it right now, which is the classic me problem. But I mean, the action is fast paced. It's awesome. Even on the technical test, you'll probably get a good few hours out of it. I won't spoil the final boss, but I have mentioned them previously. It's a really cool fight, and there is just a lot of you can use 4 different weapons. I believe. I think it's 3 or 4. You start with a spell book. You can get a couple of blades. And I think there's a couple other weapons besides that. One of your ways to power up is through tarot cards. Seb, did you want to mention something?
Hey, you talk about the cards. You can go on.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you use certain resources, just like you did in the first game, to either deal with the broker or to get upgrades. In this game, there's also a cauldron. But the tarot cards are really important because they're how you get certain powers. And I believe you use the resource called Psyche to upgrade it. There's a whole 3-hour like live stream. Actually, if you want a fun drinking game, not that I actually recommend drinking, but take a drink every time they reintroduce themselves or Greg Kasavin waves hello. It's very funny. He just does it a lot. Anyway, the the tarot cards are how you power up, so it's how you get certain things like Death Defiance, or you get more, or you do more damage if you have less magic or stuff like that. So some of them have trade-offs, but some of them are just plain old good things, like Death Defiance. So you, instead of dying when you drop from 1 to 0, you come back at 20 or something like that. I don't remember exactly numbers. But the game, I mean, I don't know really what else to say except the game looks incredible. The combat looks crisp. The voice acting, the anime, I mean, everything looks incredible here. I'm day one for early access. I'm not usually an early access kind of person. I actually have never played an early access game in my life. But this is something I can't wait on. I'm not waiting till actual day one. I'm not waiting for 1.0, where they arbitrarily say the whole game is ready. I say arbitrarily, but that's just more of an issue with early access than Supergiant. Yeah, I mean, it's just such. It looks so good. Is really what I have to say. I mean, I used that technical test stream, which was again like 3 hours, so plenty of stuff to dig into there. If you want more impressions, some people have uploaded some videos of them playing the technical test and talking about first impressions. People seem happy about it. A lot of returning characters. The magic system looks really cool. There are ways to increase your maximum magic, increase your maximum health, which you're going to need against that first boss. Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, I don't know if Seb and I will include early access games for our top 10, because maybe we'll leave it till the 1.0 comes out next year. This is what I was going to mention earlier, but so the technical test is probably going to last. They couldn't be clear because that's how this works, right? But at least a couple of weeks, which would bring us into May. So I presume early access, which will be starting soon after the technical test, will be happening sometime in May. So I think that's reasonable. So for anybody interested in Hades 2, May is probably going to be your month. And I mean, yeah, Godspeed from there. Seb won't see me again. Kim won't see me again. So, and anytime I come on the podcast, I'm just going to be insufferable about Hades 2. So yeah, I'm very excited. It looks awesome. I'm thinking of how many synonyms I could think of for incredible. But it just looks so polished. I mean, you can tell they've spent 3 years on it. They had a really solid foundation. I should mention this is Supergiant's first sequel. They've never done a sequel before. They had Bastion, which I loved, Transistor, which I've never played, and I don't remember the other one. There's a third game, but besides that, and then of course they came out with Hades and now Hades 2. So this is their first sequel, and it's
Pyre.
looking really good.
Pyre.
Yeah, Pyre. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know, Seb, if you have anything to add. That's most of the basics. If you've played Hades, you know what to expect from the gameplay. So I don't think I have to explain a lot there. It's roguelite elements. You get different things per run. It's randomized. But throughout the technical test, they do meet all of the characters that you would meet in the technical test, luckily. But they also played for 3 hours. So,
I mean, you already hit on everything, basically. It looks like a better version of the first game. And that's saying a lot, because the first game is incredible, so this game looks even better. It's very polished, what I'm seeing. The animation looks great. It looks very crisp. The animation stands out. It's very unique. A unique setting. Obviously, it's Greek mythology, and everybody knows Greek mythology, but it's like its own unique take on it, its own style with it. It's pretty much the same game. You do a run, and you progress. You die, and then you use whatever currency you have to cash in and get better. And this game has such added elements to that. Just things you can grow plants and stuff. And all these different things, as Dory talked about, like mechanics, that make it different from the first game. And this game looks great. I'm totally into it. I am super hyped for this game. I don't know if I'll do early access or not. I might just wait. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really hyped for this game, and it looks incredible. It could be a game of the year contender. We'll see about that. But definitely, I don't know if it's gonna come out this year. Feels like
I wouldn't expect it. It
feels like it could, but I'm expecting early next year. I would guess.
Yes, I would say early.
Maybe summer next year?
Either late winter, or early spring or something like that. I don't know. They haven't even broached that subject really. But last time it took
looks very
about a
polished.
year for early access to end. So
Yeah, so it looks very polished. So safe bet, maybe May of next year.
yeah, I think they'll at least give themselves a year to get rid of any major bugs. And honestly, knowing Supergiant, there probably aren't a lot of major bugs. Their games are usually very well polished.
Although they have the foundation this time, so that might
So it could be
up.
sooner.
Might speed it up.
It could be sooner. Yeah,
I would love if it came out this year.
I would too, because then I can put it in my top 10 list.
For sure. All right.
By top 10, I mean my top 1.
So yeah, I don't know how much to say because Dory hit on pretty much everything. I pretty much have the
Sorry, that was the autism.
Same opinion as her. No, it's fine. I wanted you to carry that one because you watched the whole 3-hour stream. I watched a lot of it, but I kind of fast forward to like parts I wanted to see and things like that. I didn't.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I know some people, especially in the Draft Punk server, are trying to stay blind on this and trying to avoid as much as possible. I'm the opposite. I'm diving right in. I want to know as much about the game as possible, and I want to hear everything Greg Kasavan and Amir Rao had to say in that stream. And yeah, I found it very insightful. I think it's very worth watching. If you don't want to be spoiled on what's going to happen in early access, at least in the first level, then don't watch. Yeah, but I don't care. I eat that stuff up.
Yeah, don't watch a 3-hour video if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna jump into something.
So pretty self. They were like, oh, if you're gonna do early access or try the playtest, maybe don't watch this. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, this is the first gameplay we've gotten from Hades 2. Of course, I'm going to watch. So
right. All right. So before we get into our last topic, now it's time for our ad break. So Dory, take it away.
This episode is sponsored by everyone's favorite feral goth girl, Gogo, the game mistress. Gogo is a professional GM and geek event organizer. She's an award-winning cosplayer, published author, voice actor, and general menace to civil society. Gogo has professional experience running D&D, Pathfinder, World of Darkness, Fate, Lancer, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, Warhammer 40k RPGs, and over 30 other systems for cons, companies, and private tables. If you pay her enough, she'll even run Fatal. You can hire her as the game mistress for your online tabletop group over at startplaying.games/gamemistress. That's startplaying.games/gamemistress. The link is in the description, along with her link tree. Mention our show to GoGo to get $5 off your first 5 sessions.
All right, our final topic of the night is about Baldur's Gate 4. Baldur's Gate 3 was our game of the year last year. And obviously, we talked about that when we did our top 10 favorite games of the year. Not of the year, of all time, and Dory had it in her top 10. So obviously, one of her favorite games ever, and one of my favorite games ever. So definitely, it was in my honorable mentions. It could have been in my top 10. And so there's a couple news about it recently. Larian Studios confirmed that they're not making Baldur's Gate 4. It's gonna be somebody else, which I don't blame them because obviously that game must have took a lot of effort and time to do. And I'm sure they're burned out completely from a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons kind of game. And obviously, they've done the Divinity games as well. So I'm sure that maybe the next couple games they're gonna make is gonna be something different than fantasy. We'll see. They did confirm they're working on other games. There's gonna be one giant one, like that's could be possibly bigger than Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of like scope and stuff. And there's another one. I think there's another one they said that it was gonna be like very different, but also similar in somewhat. Like, I'll give you the exact quote that he said. Let's see. He said in an interview with IGN, quote, "Different than what you think it is, but still familiar." So I don't know what that means, but I imagine it's going to be an RPG. Safe bet. They're one of the kings of RPGs, arguably the best Western RPG maker right now. That's a safe bet. Baldur's Gate 3 was like, it won every award show, like pretty much just dominated completely.
I believe they're the only game in history to win every single major Game of the Year award in 1 year, or whatever exactly the record is. But they talked about that in their update number 7 or patch number 7, which just came out or is coming out soon. I don't remember which.
Yeah, we're not getting a DLC for Baldur's Gate 3, but they are still working. Nope. Even though they're not making another one or doing DLC, they are still giving us patches. Like they're giving us modding tools in the game. That's
been the big thing. That's the big thing.
Right, and then they're improving like the endings. They're having more evil endings. If you want to do a dark playthrough, they're adding that as well, and more like dialogue and quality of life improvements, things like that, like tweaks and stuff. But
Yeah.
big thing being the modding community. I'm sure PC gamers are gonna have a blast with that.
Yes.
We're gonna see like Shrek and
I
running with it.
can't wait till Thomas the Tank Engine makes his hotly anticipated debut
It's
in
gonna be so
Baldur's
much fun
Gate
to
3.
watch. Yep, and
So good.
so I know people are not exactly excited for another developer to make Baldur's Gate because people are not really. I'm not really in the Dungeons and Dragons community. From my understanding though, is people are not exactly happy with Wizard of the Coast and Hasbro.
They are not. I could talk about that if you want.
Yeah, can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I've been a dungeon master for about 4 years. I'm on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but yeah, I've done a lot of stuff that's based around Wizards of the Coast, and basically, they've made a lot of bad choices in the past couple of years. There's some higher ups that have some pretty shaky records in the public eye. They've also done a lot of public facing stuff with the OGL license, which is basically how some people make their living. OGL license is basically, I believe I'm saying it right, but it's basically the license people have to make their own homebrew content and then sell it on like, Dungeons, DM's Guild or RPG Drive Through or whatever. And so fucking with that made a lot of people upset. And of course, there's general discussion among the player base about the quality of the adventures that have come out in the last few years. We're not getting Curse of Strahd, we're not getting Sailors of Saltmarsh anymore. Those big, huge, adventures that really did well. It's just not hitting like it used to 5e in general, and a lot of people see the issues with it at this point, especially combat and how long it takes. So yeah, it's a myriad of issues, and I'm no expert, but you can definitely look up OGL license on YouTube and find out a lot of the problems there. But safe to say, some of it is not Wizards of the Coast, although a lot of it is. But some of it is Hasbro, Hasbro, which owns Wizards of the Coast. You look at statements that Larian Studio execs or leaders, whatever people in charge have said. Almost all of the people they worked on to produce that game at the beginning are gone now, yeah, obviously Larian worked on that game for quite a few years, but still, like, that's huge. That's a big turnover. That's a lot of people fired. That's a lot of people just quitting. It's not a good look. In other words, I don't blame Larian for wanting to get away from Hasbro and Wizards to some extent. It's just not a great place to work with, great company to work with on either case. Hasbro is just very much interested in the profit. They really don't care about the property itself as long as the property is making the money, which of course is counterintuitive, but they don't care. So yeah, that's the shorthand version of it.
Yeah, so I think it's a safe bet that Baldur's Gate 4 is not going to be as good as the third game. I just think the third game is just one of those like masterclass, like almost perfect game. Like I don't think any game is really going to live up to that game. Like that game is one of those like once in a generation level game. Right, people are going to remember it for years. So obviously the people making it are going to be under a lot of pressure. Now I don't think the game has to be great to be considered great. Let me rephrase that. I don't think the game has to live up to the third game to be great. It can just be its own thing and be great. I don't think it's fair to put it on the same pedestal, but at the same time, I am not very optimistic considering how they've handled Dungeons and Dragons IP, as you've talked about. All the things I'm hearing are just very negative, and they don't seem like they treat their community very well from an outside perspective, and I'm not generally optimistic for this, but I was just curious, what developer would you want to work on Baldur's Gate? Safe bet the ones we talk about are probably never going to be making a Baldur's Gate game, but
yes.
just for the sake of conversation, who would you like to see make it?
I think the number one choice is obvious, right? If we're not talking about Divinity Original Sin, which was coming from Larian, it's Pillars of Eternity, right? Which was made by Obsidian. It has to be Obsidian.
Exactly.
there's really, I can't think of. I'm going to mention some other studios just for funsies, but there's really no other studio better suited to this task than Obsidian. Obsidian almost always makes quality RPGs. They have the pedigree. They did Pillars of Eternity. They did KOTOR. They know turn-based game. Oh, they didn't do KOTOR. Sorry, that was
they did the second one, I think.
They did the second one. Sorry.
Yeah.
They did KOTOR too. And they just have
Pentiment, Outer Worlds, all that.
Yes,
New Vegas,
Outer Worlds as well. Yes. So they have Josh Sawyer, who has been incredibly vocal about the goods and the bads of Baldur's Gate 3. So obviously, and he loves it, but he as a designer himself and a director, he was paying very close attention to that system. I just think Obsidian checks all the boxes here. They've got the budget for it. If they invested enough time and after Outer Worlds 2, I could see them doing it. This is probably the most likely pick that I have. Even then, I don't know that Obsidian would want to do it. Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are just such a nightmare to get into business with at this point. Maybe it's a gold mine, but some of that gold is going to be fool's gold because it's a real dangerous game to try to try to outdo Baldur's Gate 3. I really think Larian was smart to go off on a high note and just to get out of there before Hasbro wrecked anything.
Yeah, I don't think Obsidian would do it also because they're a first party studio now, and
right, that's true too.
They don't have the same independence. I doubt Hasbro would want Baldur's Gate to be an exclusive to Xbox.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that. Yep.
But Obsidian is obviously the number one choice as well for me. They're the best Western developer, not for Larian, I guess. Larian's his biggest competition. I guess the second biggest competition to Obsidian would be Bethesda, but Microsoft owns both of them now.
I do not trust Bethesda to do this. I did think about Bethesda,
back in the day,
but I in no way trust
rivals.
Bethesda to do this.
They were huge rivals back in the day, and Fallout 3 was Game of the Year in 2008, and Bethesda would be one of my choices as well. Again, I don't think they would do it because again they're first party as well, and they've made obviously they made Elder Scrolls being gigantic with especially Skyrim, and they'd be a good choice for that as well. I was also thinking BioWare, but BioWare is kind of dead at this point. BioWare is not. It's not the same BioWare.
I thought about BioWare as well because they did do.
But they are working on. But they are working on. They are working on the next Dragon Age game, which is coming out next year, I think. So.
And allegedly, Mass Effect, the new Mass Effect game. Allegedly.
Yeah, so they're had their hands full, but they're my other choice. I would think to work on a Baldur's Gate game. They're used to fantasy settings as well.
Right.
My other choice I was thinking about was. I don't know. CD Projekt Red making The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is now an amazing game. They fixed it and it's now an incredible RPG. And Witcher 3 obviously is my game of the year in 2015, one of the greatest games ever. They'd be a great choice as well. But they generally have not made CRPGs, so I would imagine it would be more on more of like a third person RPG. Like a Mass Effect kind of thing, or Fallout or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't really like CD Projekt Red from a company standpoint. So that's my bias. I didn't really want to put them in there. So because if they did, I probably wouldn't be as interested, which would suck for me. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're definitely one of the developers I thought of that could do this. But like you said, they don't really have a lot of turn-based games under their belt.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not sure what their next plan is because I don't know if they would want to do another giant RPG. Maybe they just love doing that. I don't know, but it feels like a studio that would want to do like something like that, like that wants to be super. Can you imagine after Witcher 3 and CD Projekt Red, after Cyberpunk, they don't want to do another giant RPG. So
yeah,
my other choice for them. I was just thinking randomly. In Exile, which did the Wasteland games, that's one option. But again, that's Microsoft owned. Microsoft owns every Western RPG at this point. RPG maker. I was also thinking Ubisoft might be somebody that likes. I could easily see Ubisoft getting interested in the IP and swooping it up to do their own thing, as well. I know Dory would be not happy with that, but that's something I could see them giving it to someone like EA or Ubisoft to and give it one of their studios to work on it. And I was also thinking maybe From Software. Now that's not Western RPG, that's a Japanese studio, but I could imagine if they did a Baldur's Gate Souls-like game, or at least a more difficult action game. That'd be interesting if they can pull that off. Or rather, imagine if From Software can do a more traditional RPG. Obviously, Elden Ring and Dark Souls and all that are all RPGs as well. But I'm talking like a more traditional Baldur's Gate narrative-heavy one, not where it's like the lore is like scattered around. You find the lore by discovering it. I mean like a more narrative-driven game. From Software has never done that, from what I recall. So that'd be very interesting to see From Software pull that off, because they're one of the best RPG makers too, right? Because we mentioned all Western developers, but maybe a Japanese studio might get involved with making a Baldur's Gate game.
I want to mention a couple of my picks as well.
Okay.
These are all, I thought I posted them in the chat, but I didn't. But if it's not Obsidian, right, and a lot of these are just thrown out. These are just cool studios I like that have some kind of relation to RPGs or fantasy settings. So don't take me too seriously on these picks, but these are some backup picks. All right. Not a Western developer, but Square Enix could be a good pick, right? They just worked on Octopath Traveler 2 after the first one. Obviously, they're well known for turn-based RPGs, well known for engaging the fantasy setting. They have the budget for this kind of game. I'm sure once it got published, they would say something about projected sales not meeting their expectations or some bullshit.
The only thing with them is they just seem kind of done with Western studio, like Western IPs. They kind of sold them, they sold them all off, and they seem like they're very focused on their own thing. But that's definitely an option.
Yeah. So Square could be a pick. I doubt they would do it for the reason you mentioned. And I think they're also just very focused on Kingdom Hearts 4, praise be. My other pick here, we talked about them earlier. You know, when you think about super indies right now, super indie studios, I mean, it's hard not to think about Supergiant. I know that Supergiant doesn't really do these kind of games, but I would love, this is more like me, this is like fantasy booking in wrestling terms, but this is basically me, like, I would love to see what their version of D&D would be. I mean, they do the fantasy settings, kind of, they have the voice acting, they have the dialogue down. Obviously, it's not turn-based, although I think Pyre or Transistor was turn-based. I could be wrong, though. But I don't know if they have the funds for that kind of big property, though.
I don't. It'd be stylized,
or the passion.
It'd be stylized. They just don't have the budget to do like that level. I think it'd be.
It's only 20. There's only 25 people, so
something stylized like that would be really cool, though.
Yes, so that's what I'm thinking about, is the aesthetic. But and then the last studio I wanted to mention is Insomniac. This one's way out there. They don't really have a big pedigree for fantasy games, not that I can think of. And they certainly don't do a lot of turn-based games, but they're a really cool, super independent studio. Actually, I think they're owned by PlayStation, come to think of it. Are they owned by PlayStation, or are they just...
Who? Say again?
Are they owned... sorry, is Insomniac owned by PlayStation?
Yeah, first party.
Okay, fuck.
They bought them several years ago, yeah.
Right, they did. I thought they were a super indie, but they're not. They're bought out by PlayStation.
They were second party for a while, but PlayStation bought them.
Yes, but now no longer, yes. So that was my bad. But I would still love to see what Insomniac could do with it. I know that they don't really have the fantasy, the turn-based. This is more about
Insomniac.
They're really into... Sorry, go ahead.
So I force Insomniac got to carry Sony on their back right now. Like now you're adding another RPG on them. A big RPG on them.
Yeah, well, I know. The pain never ends, Insomniac. Your name is literally Insomniac. Get it together. No, but you're right. I mean, they have a lot on their hands. The Wolverine game, the sequel to Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Some might even say Spider-Man 3. Yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting that DLC for Spider-Man 2 coming up soon. Naughty Dog. Imagine Naughty Dog making I
thought about that after I said Insomniac. That'd be, from a narrative standpoint, that'd be cool. But again, fantasy and turn-based pedigree not really there.
Yeah, but they're apparently the next game they're working on. Obviously, they wouldn't be making this game because they're working on their own fantasy game right now. And it sounds that sounds like it might be it's probably going to be an RPG. So I guess that's an option too. But yeah, I think we hit on all the big ones, right? Like the
Yeah, I
big
can't really
RPG
think of
makers.
any. Can you think of any other RPG studios? Like I tried to look up studios that specialize in RPGs, and DuckDuckGo is not very helpful in this endeavor.
Um, I'm sure there's ones I'm just not missing.
I did think about
Blizzard
Sabotage
maybe.
Studios.
Blizzard maybe.
Oops. Oh God, I would hate that.
I
I would
mean,
fucking hate
I
that.
understand like the whole monetization shit and all that, but in terms
Yeah,
of just like an actual RPG maker, like obviously Warcraft is incredible, StarCraft,
sure,
all of them
sure. They
have
have
like
the pedigree.
huge
They have the
lore,
history. Yep.
story, and they can definitely handle it.
The only one I can think of
Stylized though.
left, and I mostly took my list by the way from like 2023 RPG Games of the Year studios. So studios that are active, making great games, could be trusted with the IP. Those are like my three basics that you got to have as the foundation. I know this would never happen. They don't have the budget for it, but Sabotage Studios, which just came out with Sea of Stars, I think that'd be really cool. But it's similar to Supergiant. It'd be very stylized. They don't have the budget for that kind of game.
I mean, it might not be the worst idea. I mean, obviously, if you do something similar to Baldur's Gate 3, it's just in like 3D, it's gonna keep me compared to Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe if you did more of an artsy, indie stylized version for number 4, maybe people will be into that, and it's easier to handle. Maybe what if they did something on the level? Well, let's say the game is more like Disco Elysium, like that kind of game, like that kind of gameplay where it looks good, but it's not like obviously Baldur's Gate 3. We need a high-end computer to get the best out of it. So I think that's not a bad idea to do, because you played all these games, right? Like was it Citizen Sleeper or whatever, and
right, Citizen Sleeper, yeah,
something like that, Disco Elysium, that kind of level. I mean, that's how the first Baldur's Gate was. I'm pretty sure, and the second one too. I'm going off the top of my head. It was a long time ago, but
yeah. I mean, they're very old now.
So they weren't like Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 was like mind-blowingly good in terms of visuals, for sure. I think that's pretty much it.
I think so too. I mean, maybe there's, definitely sound off in the comments if you have some other studios that you would love to add. I agree with Seb. I'm very shaky on the future of Baldur's Gate. I think Larian has sold me on them as a studio. Like whatever game they make next, I'm there day one. Yeah, day one. But whenever Baldur's Gate 4 comes out, I'm let me look at the reviews. Like, I don't know. That's a shaky relationship. And I'm not even as passionate about D&D as I used to be, even though I still love it. But and the company has just not helped that. So I just can't say I have a lot of faith in Hasbro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, Obsidian's the best choice. And I'm not saying that they'll actually do it or that it would work out, but they're the best choice. They make the most sense. Josh Sawyer was very passionate in his on his Twitter profile about Baldur's Gate 3. He clearly like thinks about this kind of stuff as a director of a game studio. I think it would fit them like a glove, but who knows if the passion or interest is there. Again, I can't blame any studio for not wanting to work with Hasbro / WotC, Wizards of the Coast.
I'm with you. Obsidian was my first choice, the first developer that I thought of, but I know they have their hands full with their own projects right now. I'm sure they're working on Outer Worlds 2 right now, and I believe, I don't know what they're doing actually besides that. I guess they're working. Oh, they did Avowed, right? They're doing Avowed.
Yeah, they're doing Avowed right now,
which is coming out this year, and I'm sure they're gonna have to do a DLC for that and stuff like that. And so I guess they do have a window coming up, because obviously this hypothetical game ain't coming out for another 8 years at most. So.
Right. So it's like it's not even a big deal that some of these studios have games on their plate, because you could definitely get those things off of their plate and then start this up, and you'd still probably have time to make another one.
My assumption would be that the next game Obsidian might work on is another Fallout game or something. I can easily see them handing off the Fallout IP to Obsidian, while Bethesda works on Elder Scrolls 6. So that I don't know. I think CG Projekt Red comes up to me as well, because now that Cyberpunk's over and the DLC is over, which the DLC being a big story expansion as well, they kind of have a window open now. We don't know what they're working on coming up. We don't know if there's another project. I'm sure they're working on something. Maybe this is a good window for them to jump into the IP. Maybe they want to take a chance at that. So I don't know. I think that's a good option.
Sorry, which studio was that again?
CD Projekt Red. I think.
Oh, CD Projekt.
Now that Cyberpunk's over, I think they have an option. They have a window open now that they can focus on a new IP. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine that Hasbro is gonna be looking at a bigger studio to handle this IP because obviously there's gonna be a lot of pressure to match the third game. So I just don't see them handing it off to a small indie studio to handle it unless they have the manpower that Larian does. Which how many studios do that? Have that? They're independent.
Yeah.
Barely any. So yeah, I'm not that optimistic about the future of Baldur's Gate, but I am curious, and I still love Dungeons and Dragons, and I'll probably play it at some point, even if it sucks or it's okay. It just won't be day one. It's something I will get on a sale or whatever. But that's
Yeah.
like way in the future. I'll be like 40, so so who knows? I'll be a different person that's at that point. So yeah, those are all good options, and I would love to see a From Software do it. That'd be so cool. Like I want to see them attempt like a more traditional RPG. That's not a Souls like game or hard. All right, so that's our show. Thanks for joining me. As Dory mentioned, we will be talking about the Final Fantasy DLC. I don't know if I'm gonna pick up No Rest for the Wicked because I was thinking about getting the early access code for it, but the reviews have not been great. Uh,
Wait, really?
yes, there's been a lot of bugs and technical issues. It is early access after all, but the reviews have been really negative. Not really negative, but
Wow,
quite negative.
that's surprising,
Yeah, it's been disappointing. But so we'll
especially for
see.
Moon Studio.
Yeah, it just seems like
Well,
there's a
anyway,
lot. Yeah, it's just the issues, and it's like $35. I don't know if I want to spend $35 just to play test the game. I can wait easily for this game. So we'll see what I talk about next. I think next week I'm just gonna spotlight whatever I'm playing. Probably
yep.
Lords of the Fallen because I've been playing that recently and it's not great. It's very hard, very unforgiving, but the visuals are incredible and I love the aesthetic. But I'll talk about that next week. All right, Dory, thanks for joining me. You have a good night
Yeah.
and peace.
Out.